I'm Patrick David, and you are listening to The Daily Edge.
My name is Raul and you're listening to the Daily Edge podcast. Learn the systems and the process that successful businessmen are using to take their lives and their business to the next level. Welcome to the Daily Edge podcast. Today is a very special day because, as you know, I'm bringing you value every single time, and I'm very conscious about who I bring into the podcast, especially because there's a lot of people out there consuming content and putting out content, but I'm constantly making sure that I'm consuming content of the right people, and whatever I put in my mind, whatever I put in my head, comes from the right place with the right intention. So when I reached out to Patrick, and he was kind enough to gift us with some time and give us some information about what he does, and I want him to get in here. But Patrick, how do you spell your last name? Bidet? How do you say your last name?
Bet David.
Patrick Bet-David is one of the most consistent men that I know out there. And I claim to be one of the most consistent motherfuckers out there, Patrick. But I've seen your products and I've seen your content and I see you drive. And man, I tell you, you're like the brother from another mother. So without further ado, I want to introduce Patrick Bet-David into the podcast, into the Daily Edge podcast, because we're ready to dig into some fire today. So welcome, Patrick. Welcome to Daily Edge.
It's good to be on.
So tell us, Patrick, give us a little bit of your background. I know that you built an amazing financial business in the industry. Tell us a little bit how you got started as an entrepreneur.
Born and raised in Iran, lived there 10 years, went to Germany, came out here, went into the Army. And then after the Army, I wanted to be a bodybuilder, met a girl who was working at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I started off with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter the day before 9/11. I was the youngest broker they hired at 21 years old, got my Series 7, 66, 31, 26 life and health. I was there for a while. Then I went to Trans America for 7.5 years. And in October of 2009, I started my own insurance agency with 66 agents out of Los Angeles, Northridge, California, with 66 insurance agents. Today, we have 13,000 agents in 49 states, nearly 500,000 square feet of office space. Last month, in the month of December, I think when we started PHP, we were selling 5,200 policies a month. Last month, we did 6,654 policies in the month of December. And most recent convention we had was in the month of August. We had President Bush, Kobe Bryant, Jordan Peterson, and Billy Beane at that event with 8,000 people at the Mirage. And then on the side, I started a YouTube channel. Initially, I called it Patrick Bet-David, and I changed the name to Valuetainment, and it grew from 0 to, I don't know, somewhere around 1.85 million subs and a few billion minutes wide. So that's briefly my story.
That's beautiful. I mean, listen, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. But let's start to dig in a little bit, because as right before we got into this podcast, Patrick was asking me what I do and how do I get into what I did. And I want to talk about the tunnel, Patrick, because a lot of entrepreneurs who are building businesses, you've been up and down, you know the struggle. What's a time in your life that you could actually go back and say, man, this is where I hit the tunnel, Raul. This is where I was in the tunnel. This is where I found like the edge that I have now. What's the tunnel that you've been through in your life that you could share with us?
What's the time I've been in my life? The tunnel. Is the tunnel like a hitting rock bottom type of a moment? Is that what the tunnel would be?
It's close to a rock bottom. What I call the tunnel is more of when the oh shit moment. The moment that you have nowhere to turn, that you know that it's all on you, that your wife cannot help you, your business cannot help you. It's like you have to be the one who makes the decisions and the choices. Otherwise, everything crumbles to the ground.
Yeah, so the first one would be in 2003, August. My dad had a heart attack. He went to the hospital. My girlfriend at the time left me because I was broke, $49,000 in debt. I didn't have any money. I was driving a Ford Focus. And I left the hospital, came out, and I said, this will be the last time my dad has to worry about money ever again. And I got to work, and the last time my dad reached into his pocket for money was May 29th of 2004. That's the last time that happened. So that's first one. Second one was when we started PHP Agency. I'd never been a CEO of a company before, and it's a very regulated industry. So 2009 is when I started a financial firm. This is right after the major crisis that took place in 2008. And market tanked 38%, and AIG is about to go out of business. WAMU goes out of business. It's acquired for $1.9 billion by Chase. Used to be a $330 billion company. Countrywide, Merrill Lynch, all of these things are taking place. And one day in 2011, I come home And this is a time where nothing's going our way. My entire savings that I had, I put into the business and we're growing it. It was depleted down to $13,000. And I come home and my wife is crying 1:30 in the morning because she just had a miscarriage. And at this point of the game, nothing's going right. I don't know what to do. I got out and I walked around the community and I was listening to my favorite 80s song and having the biggest argument with God. And I said, why are you doing this? Like, what did I do wrong for you to put me in a situation like this? You know, we're doing our best. You know, what is going on here, you know? And came out, I said, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to work my tail up. I've never had a challenge with hard work. Post-military, pre-military, yes, post-military, no, because military taught me about how hard work. And then next thing you know, a week and a half later, we got a $100,000 commission check and never looked back. So that time, late 2010, early 2011, very challenging time in my career.
Okay, so I want to stop right there because I want the listeners to understand this. I mean, that's key, Patrick, on some of the work that I've done. Well, like I told you, you know, you and I are brothers from another mother because what happened to you, it probably happened not exactly, but in the same place. 2009, when the market crashed at a mortgage company, and I was switching the names of the companies every week. You know, it was one name once, and then it went under, another one went under. So we constantly, probably to the point that we actually didn't print. We actually just taped a piece of paper in the door because we knew that the next week it was probably going to be something else. So I had to go through that, but my pattern was I didn't want anybody else to know what I was going through. So I hid all that from my wife. I hid all that from the people around me. So I went to the denial phase thinking that this is not going to break me. Was that something that happened to you? Were you going to denial saying it's not going to be as bad? Or you were like, fuck, like this is like this, like everybody has to know what I'm going through? Or at that moment, what was the mindset or the framework that you were using to get yourself out of that place?
Well, I mean, I will tell you the first time around, you don't think it's going to get better. There's a certain level of fear and unknown, but like you don't know what's going to be taking place, what's going to be changing. But also at the same time, my wiring is slightly different, and this is my wiring. And maybe this is where I may be slightly different in the way I view these things. I have 3 kids, and I tell my kids a few different things. These are the things I've probably told them 10,000 times. 4 things we do as a family. We lead, we respect, we improve, we love. Lead in every possible situation. Respect everybody because you can learn something from everybody. Improve because it's the only thing that can give you peace of mind knowing everything's going to work out as long as you improve. Love because everybody needs more love in their lives. Everyone's going through some kind of challenge. We don't get bullied. We don't bully. 2 things. If somebody bullies you, stand up and don't bully anybody because I don't like bullies. Then I said there's 4 things we pray for: courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. I need courage because if you want to do something big, you need courage. Wisdom because if you want people older than you to follow you, you need to be wise, not smart. Tolerance, people are annoying. You have to have tolerance for them. Understanding, you got to understand everyone's situation because everyone's got a different kind of a story. So the part that gave me the peace of mind back from 18 years old when I was in the military, I remember I was in boot camp one time, and one of my buddies, battle buddies, gets a letter from his wife telling him she left him for his best friend. And he's sitting there. This man is 10 years older than me. He's sitting down on his bed. He's got glasses on. And it's 1:30 in the morning. He's crying. He can't even hold himself because he's reading the letter over and over and over again. And he wants to talk to her. He wants to call her. You can't call anybody during boot camp, but you can get the letters. So he's trying to respond. How could you do this to me? How could you do? And I go sit by his bed and I'm talking to him. And I'm trying to, calm this guy down because that's a pretty painful thing when you go through it in that moment. There is no texting. There is no Facebook. There is no Twitter. There's no Instagram. There's nothing to respond back and do a FaceTime with this person. And I said, listen, man, I was born and raised in Iran, where in Iran, I saw a lot of terrible things. We saw war. We saw people dying. We saw bombing. I said, I don't know what to tell you that's going to make you feel calmer right now. I said, but the one thing I can tell you is every time something bad happened in Iran, I always went back to the following. I said, I can walk, I can talk, I can smell, I can see, I can hear, I can feel. I'm the luckiest man alive. And I said, I know it's not what you want to hear, but at least you still got all your senses. At least your problem isn't somebody that lost their child. It is a painful thing, but at least we can overcome this thing together. And he settled down, calmed down. We became some of the best friends during the military time together. So when I went through the issues that you're describing, I watched a lot of my peers. It's so funny. Today we were talking about this on a conference call early this morning. And I said, we have one guy in our company. His name is Jose Gaitan. And Jose's been with me for a long time. He went from being just a regular guy. Last month, we paid him $132,000 a month. They're doing pretty good for themselves, business-wise. And they've grown from being where they were at to where they are today. And I said, one of the things I have so much respect for with Jose is the fact that nothing can offend this guy. Nothing gets under this guy's skin. You can say anything you want to him. You're not going to bother him. Now, you say something to wife and mom and kids, different story. But you can challenge him, call him out, whatever, calm, zero sensitivity. And it's almost as if where you got to look at the tough times that comes into your life as a hell week or a tryout to see if you have the goodies to go to the next level. So for me, when these tough times came up, I stopped going from the point of the old Patrick feeling sorry for myself. And I looked at it from the standpoint of, Pat, here's a tryout. Do you want to level up or do you want to stay at the level you're at? Because whatever level you want to go to next, you're going to be the worst of the next level. You may be the best at this level, but at the next level, you're the bottom of the next level. Do you want to go there? It's going to be painful. I do. Great. Then let's figure this thing out. And the part that gave me peace was not lead, was not respect, was improve. Because anytime you're willing to improve, good things are around the corner for you. So when you're talking about the madness side, for me, knowing the fact that I can settle down and find a way to improve myself gave me peace to know that good things are around the corner.
So improvement. So what I call is having the edge is really creating progress. So you can't control the market. I mean, you can't control what the government does. You can't control what your employees do. The only thing that you can control is what you think and what you focus on. So what were you focusing on in improvement? What were you doing? You said listening to videos and not listening to videos, listen to tapes. I mean, back in the days, I remember there were CDs. Some people may not even know what a CD is nowadays, but there were CDs going in. There was no YouTube. There was no iTunes. What were you listening to keep that mindset from burning shit to the ground?
I was a reader, man. I like to read. I've read 1,600 books, and I would put my head down and just go into reading mode. And I would get the books out and I would read strategy books. And for me, everything has to be on listicles and steps for my brain to be eliminate clutter. I'm not a fan of having a lot of different things here because it consumes my mind. So the more I have systems and steps in my mind, the more open I have, the more clarity I have. So I am focused every time if I'm looking at if we're growing or if we're not growing. I inspect myself in 4 places: outwork, out-improve, outlast, out-strategize. Outlast, no one knows because everybody talks a big game on social media on who they are and who they were. Everybody. It's such an easy time to claim you're rich, you know it all, be a coach. It's the easiest time to do that, right? But lasting in the game of business ain't easy. You need mental and emotional toughness, and most people cannot do. But we're not going to know last for 20 years. You're not going to know it. There's a reason why LeBron James has the level of respect he has in the game because he's been going at it for 17 years. Kobe, 20 years. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dirk Nowitzki, Tom Brady, 42 years old. Trump running for office at the age he has. Reagan was running older. Even a Hillary Clinton at 70 years old is campaigning. Bernie Sanders, 74 years old, is campaigning. Joe Biden is 74 years old campaigning. This isn't about Democrat and Republican. What the hell are they doing at 74 years old, putting that kind of pressure on themselves? And I think a lot of times we see too many guys in their 30s, 40s kind of settle down because it's so easy today to make $300,000. You're being being somebody to use some of our successes from the past. So I went to outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast. Outlast, put it out the window because we can't track it right now. It's a 20-year game. Outwork, am I working hard? Out-improve, am I improving? The part that became something that I studied a lot, Raul, was the strategy side. And the more and more I studied strategists, whether it's Napoleon, whether it's Aurelius, whether it's Alexander, whether it's Genghis Khan, whether it's any of these warriors in the times, you will see that their biggest specialty was anticipation. These guys obsess themselves over what to anticipate next. These guys would sit there and say, what is Raul's next 5 moves? And let me see what he's going to be doing. And then they would sit there and say, before he does this, I'm going to do this. If he does this, I'm going to flank here. If he does that, I'm going to do this. And if he does this, I'm going to do this. And if he does nothing, here's what I'm doing. But regardless of what happens, I'm going to anticipate the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and know exactly what my next moves are going to be depending on what happens. So how that applies to business, if a market crash takes place, what are you going to be doing? If you lose an employee, if a competitor comes after you, if you get sued, if you need investment, if you partner and you're having a falling out, if somebody ends up having their marriage not working out, you lose somebody for 6 months. If something happens in politically, presidents change, Democrat to Republican, Republican to Democrat, what are your moves? So when you're talking about what did you do in those moments, my gosh, I pretty much, when I had a chance to, I would hide myself away from everybody and I would sit there and grab a paper and pen and a board and start writing down plans and strategies and what I'd be doing next. And that kind of gave me a lot of clarity, knowing everything's going to be okay.
That's awesome, brother, because I truly believe that whatever you seek, you will find. And I think a lot of people, instead of finding strategies, what they do is they seek on who to blame. They seek on the problems on the government, the problems on the employees. And the same thing happened to me, man, outside of praying, because I did a lot of praying. I know you probably were praying a lot back in those days. But really, I started asking myself, where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity? Because I couldn't sell the house. I couldn't do a mortgage to save my life. But then I think I signed up for a webinar that said, in time of chaos, there's always an opportunity. And I started looking, and that's how I got involved in the default market and started buying, distressed assets. I think that's similar to you. You start looking for the opportunity. So now that you have the opportunity, walk me through the conversation you had with your wife, because I know that for me, that was one of the toughest conversations. I was prepared, like you said, for divorce. I was prepared for my wife to say, like, fuck, you fucked up, we're leaving. So I had to come clean with my wife and said, we lost everything. We don't have any money to pay for the mortgage. We don't have any money for this. And I wouldn't blame you if you want to leave. Was that a similar story for you? Or you told me your wife, came to Ukraine, so she probably knew already about all these challenges, right?
No, I am not a product of getting married too early. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think marriage is. I think marriage is promoted too much for men. I think a guy nowadays, I suggest men wait till minimum 30 or 35 to get married, even if you can wait till 40 to get married in today's times, because today is different than when our parents got married and very different than when our grandparents got married. And no generation understands the next generation. We can't understand what our parents went through, and their parents cannot understand what they went through. And just like they don't understand what it is to be us today, right? So, and just like we may not understand what our kids are going to be going through with virtual reality. You and I grew up to a Hustler magazine or Penthouse magazine or Playboy magazine or whatever, and some VHS porn. Today it's online Pornhub. For them, it's going to be virtual reality. I mean, the stuff they're going to be exposed to is going to be a whole different set of challenges that you and I haven't seen, that we have to anticipate and kind of trying to give them proper directional love for that not to take place. So for me, remember how I said everything about my game is about anticipation? Everything for me is anticipation. I'm in the insurance business, anticipation. I'm in the market, anticipation. I'm in the business world, anticipation. I'm interested in politics, anticipation. So when I got married, here's how I got married. I was dating 4 women at the time, not promiscuous. I'm talking to these guys and I'm kind of trying to figure out which direction I'm going to go. I already know I'm done playing. I know I'm done playing, meaning the days of me bragging about 5 girlfriends and texting Mary to Cindy and say, oh, I'm so sorry, it was autocorrect. Those days are gone. I don't even want to brag about that because it was way too many distractions. So I know I'm ready to get married. So I go on the first day with my wife and we go out and we do what we do. And I do everything that I like to do with her for the day to see if she's interested in that. And then I take her to a bookstore that day and there was Borders, back when there used to be Borders. And then I said, I want to buy you a book and I want you to read this book. And on our second date, I want us to go through it. She said, sure, what's the book? I gave her a book. It was 101 questions to ask before you get engaged. So I gave her the book, 101 questions to ask before you get engaged. She got the book on our second date. P.F. Chang's was first date. This is second date. And she's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And I've already done the exercise with this book with 4 other women. She was the next one. So I said, I need you to read this book. We'll get together and go through them. She did. Week later on a Saturday, we went through it for 6 hours. By the time it was done, I told myself, I said, look, anybody you marry, there's going to be a risk of it not working out. I think this one's the highest chance out of all of them. Then we got married. So when you ask the question, when you hit rock bottom, what did you tell your wife? One of the questions was about how many days can you handle me being away? How do you handle if we lose everything? What if I go broke? What if all the money is gone? So in that moment, she is held accountable to the statements she made pre us getting married. So when it got to that point, I said, I told you this day was coming. So I'm not surprised. And she anticipated it. So it made us enjoy that process more. And the credit goes to my assistant at the time, was a lady named Sandra Lopez, Patty Lopez, who said, I heard this book on the radio and I think it's a good book for you. I read the book and I've given that book out to thousands of single men. But that's kind of what happened for us.
That's an amazing story, man. I'm laughing, I'm smiling because we got married with my wife when we were 21 years old, and I'm thinking if I would have brought to my wife that book, she probably would have hit me with that book because we have like a love story. Her parents didn't want us to be together, and I was the typical bad boy that wanted to steal the princess from the household. So the moment that shit hit the fan, that's when she turned into a queen, and I believe that she told me the best things that probably anybody has ever told me, which is, I know this is temporary and you're going to figure shit out. And that's the moment that belief and somebody putting that seed on me, like, fuck, man, that turned me into a beast. That turned me into a...
How old are you right now? Raul, how old are you?
42.
42. That says a lot about your wife, man. Let me tell you, respect to your wife in a major way to do that. And the reason why I say respect is because when you were 21, how old was she?
She was same age, 21.
Much respect. If she sees this, what's her name?
Vivian,
much respect to you. I got to tell you, because in the typical world, God knows how many women I saw go to complete different direction. I got a lot of respect for you, Vivian. I've never met you. I don't know who you are, but I respect you.
And we have a podcast, Got Money and Sex. So I'll send you a link to that, and you'll see that she's the queen. And it wasn't there. She didn't end there. She goes, I will live under a bridge if I have to, but I know it's not gonna be forever. And man, I want to have that tattooed in my arm, because that's when I realized that, listen, I could have money, not have money, but have someone that's gonna ride with me till the end. And that gave me what I call the fire to find my edge, the fire to go into that tunnel.
That's golden. You can't find the venue. When you find a Vivian, you got to make sure you take care of your Vivian.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now you have the insight. Now you have the strategy, because I think you're a strategist. I mean, you said you're a strategist in everything you do. Now you find the gift. Now you find the opportunity. How do you take that to the next level now that you're starting your business, and at that moment that your wife and yourself, you in that tunnel together and you become one? What was the next step? What was your opportunity that gave you the big break? Or what was that thing that gave you the big break for you to start going from 600 agents or 60 agents to as many agents you have right now? What was the one thing you could go back and say, fuck, this is the moment that I decided I want to play big?
Yeah. So the moment I got clear on the vision, the next thing is you got to cast it to everybody around you. You got to go cast your vision and declare your intentions. So I got clear on the vision. Next thing I did is I went and I casted the vision at an event I put together at Palm Springs, July 15 through 17 at the JW at Palm Springs Hotel. And I cast it. I told them exactly what we're going to be doing the next 20 years. And I put my life into 4 20-year runs. First 20-year was just to make sure you don't make any stupid mistakes, meaning from 0 to 20, right? And kind of learn about human nature, et cetera, et cetera. Next 20 years was obsession with business for one industry for 20 years. And for my 20 years is almost coming up. I've been in the industry since 2011. It's about 19 years. I'm getting close to my 20 years. And then the next 20 would be creative, and the last 20 would be contribution and fun. So whatever you're going to be doing, politics, sports, whatever it's going to be. So in this 20-year, I knew I'm going to be in the financial industry. I knew it's going to be insurance because it's getting more fine, because there's real estate, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And I'm just kind of trying to get it to be very crystal. And I said, insurance is the way I'm going to be going. And then I found my target market. I knew how I was going to approach my target market. 54% of our company is Latino. The average agent is a 34-year-old Latino female in our company. Wow. So I said, okay, this is what's going to be the focus. And I said, now let's get to work. Then it was about recruiting investors, recruiting presidents, recruiting CFOs, recruiting. So the next step, once you have a clear vision and you test your strategies to see it's making money, which I realized my way of running a business, it was working. Then it was about finding leaders and recruiting players. So then it was constantly about being in a recruiting business. I brought my CFO from another guy, Andy Beal. Andy Beal is a $22 billion guy in Dallas. He was his CFO. He's now our CFO. I brought Alice, who used to be with Pacific Life. Pacific Life is a $200 billion company out of Newport. She was with them for 22 years. I brought her on board. I brought on Moore, who used to be with Trans doing all these audits and everything. I brought him on board. All of these guys are senior me. I brought Greg Terlucky, who was with AIG for God knows how many years. I brought him on board. So this is home office setup operation. Everything I just said to you is home office setup here. Then when I started doing social media, I brought Mario on board. Mario started doing a lot of the stuff you see with Vitamin behind closed doors. It's Mario doing it. And then we brought a team with Mario, editors, all those things. On the sales side, it's about recruiting the right people. So I think too often we don't talk enough about recruiting your team. When I go to colleges and universities and people say, Pat, you don't believe in the college system, but I'm still here. And what do you recommend I do? And I said, listen, I don't care what degree you get. Go get whatever degree you're going to get. Here's what I can tell you. If I went to college today, and if my kids went to college today, my expectation of my kids wouldn't be a 4.0 GPA. My expectation of my kids would be, go find the smartest kids in school who have strong character and go recruit them. Go start pulling your killer team together now, and you guys come up with ideas together. The number one purpose of college for me would be recruiting a team. That'd be my number one thing. I'm recruiting my running mate together. And so once the vision was clear, once I tested what I'm doing, once I knew where I'm going and I declared my intention, then it was about going out there and finding my killer team, my dream team together, go take over the world together. So that was the next step.
That's awesome, brother. I mean, I love what you're doing is that you're taking time and you're investing in yourself. Like, did you, like, as I'm hearing you, it seems like you went to the best personal development seminar, which is the Army. I think like that's the Army is like the best boot camp out there. I'm thinking I'm gonna start recommending people to join the Army if they want to get the shit together now and then come afterwards because you're
telling the truth. The military was incredible. It was a big influence in my life, very big.
I mean, I think that's why, my grandfather was in the military and he put me in kindergarten. I was from kindergarten to third grade in military school. Now, that's the reason I have perfect hair, because I couldn't have a hair out of place in military school. My boots had to be shiny. My hair had to be perfect. My nails had to be cut. I mean, they were expecting me like I'm going to kindergarten. And I know, in third world countries as immigrants, we have that discipline.
And Raul, where was that? Where was that when your grandmother did?
I grew up in Ecuador.
What part? Quito?
Quito.
Okay. One of my groomsmen was from Ecuador, Quito. His name is Fernando Lasso. They called him Conejo because he had big teeth and there was a gap. So his nickname was Conejo. I didn't realize what Conejo was for a year until I realized what it was.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, man, Ecuadorians, very hardworking people. I mean, when I came to this country, I tell you, I graduated high school with everything that I learned from kindergarten to sixth grade in Ecuador. I didn't pick up a book in high school. I've hardly ever went to school because the discipline that they taught us back in the third world countries oversee any discipline that we have here in the United States. So now that you're talking about education, now how do you teach your kids now to be disciplined? Because I'm pretty sure that you have a lifestyle similar to a lot of people who give their kids everything. So let's talk about that, because that's one of the challenges that I have. My kids are entrepreneurs. Like, everybody has to earn their way in my household. So how are you teaching your kids how to be disciplined?
Yeah, so it's phases. I got a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So it's different things they need to learn at different ages that they have. I'm big on teaching them how to negotiate with me. Everything's a negotiation. Whatever they want a cookie, let's negotiate it. If they want to go to a certain park or certain place or movie, it's a negotiation that we're having. Tell me why do you deserve it right now? What did you do to be able to earn the right to be able to do this? And well, I think I did this. Remember that one time I did this, and what if I do this? And if I do this, will you do this? So there's a lot of that going on. And my oldest son has become a very good negotiator, which I'm proud of him. But few things. One, anything you want, if we go to the mall and my kid sees something, he says he wants that. And I say, how bad do you want it? I want it really bad. Really? Yes. Okay, I'll buy it. But when I buy it, I can't think of a single toy I ever bought my kids that they got right off the bat. When I typically buy the toy, I'll have a cabinet in my living room and I put the toy all the way at the top, which is like 12 feet up. They can't see it. The ceiling's 24 feet. So I put it 12 feet up. Every day they come home, they can look at their toy. Okay. And I'll say, to get that toy, you need to finish this many books. To get this toy, you need to do X, Y, Z. So they'll sit there and they'll say, okay, that's one. Okay, great. You got 9 more to go. Perfect, that 9 more to go. No problem. You can do it sooner if you want, but that book is a 10 book. That toy is a 20 book, or you need to do this for this. Everything for them became about earning. I remember one time my middle son, Dylan, I said, Dylan, who do you love, Dylan? He says, I love mommy. I said, who do you love the most? Mommy. I said, okay, after mommy, who do you love the most? I love papa. I said, after papa, papa's the grandpa, obviously, my dad. I said, after papa, who do you love the most? He says, I think I love you too. I said, tell me why you love mommy and papa more than me. He says, because when I see mommy and papa, papa brings me toys, mommy gives me cookies. With you, I have to earn everything.
Wow.
I said, Daddy, I'm all good with this. I'm okay being number 3 as long as you learn that part. So
that's awesome.
You know, it's some of those things, but what's above all of it, the one thing I always measure is when I come home and I'm around these kids is to see if they want to come and climb on top of me. Because I think when I see a father and the kids are climbing on top of the father by their choice, there's a level of love they have for their kids because of that is given to them. And when that happens to me, I don't tell them this, but it's a indirect validation that these kids love me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I want to make sure the foundation of my relationship with them is for them to know that their daddy loves them and wants to see the best for them. And that's always a confirmation when you see that taking place.
And there's nothing better than that, brother. There's nothing better than that. I come home and I could have the shittiest day in the office. I could have the deal that I was working on for months fall apart. I come home and kids hugging you, are jumping. Even the dog. We have a new dog now, and that's messing up our sex game at home because the dog now is sleeping in the bed. I told my wife we gotta give away this dog because it's sleeping in our bed. But there's nothing better than that. Nothing better than that. So one of the last questions I want to ask you is Patrick, how do you start your day? What's your daily ritual? What is the one thing that you do to get your mindset? Because I know that 80% of the thoughts that we have in our brain, studies show that they're negative thoughts. How do you rewire your mind not to focus on the negative? Because I'm sure that you have shitty days. I'm sure that you have situations where they're out of your control. How do you keep your mind focused to be able to find a solution?
I'm a data guy. I know that sounds kind of boring and most people don't want to hear what I'm saying with this. I'm a data guy. Like data excites me. When I see numbers and data, I get excited about it. And so for me, believe it or not, the first thing I wake up to is data. Once I see the data and I go through the numbers and I look for trends and all that stuff, that excites me. I look at the news because of the position I'm at. I kind of need to know what's going on with the news. One, for the company that I run and the investments that I have. And two is for the content that I'm creating. So I need to see that data part. And then it's making sure I figure out a way to move the body, some kind of an exercise to be taking place. Those would be some of the things that I do. I know sometimes most people are looking for a creative answer where I do cold dip or cryotherapy or all this other stuff. That's my morning. I'm a data guy.
So when you say about data, it's like you focus on the data. What are you focusing on? Because it's not just about the data. You're focusing on a certain type of data. So what data are you focusing on?
Well, every business has its own set of data, right? Like I have a lot of different pressure points that I look at for the day before, and I'll see where we rank on this day versus the last day, the day before, on how we rank this week versus last week or the week before, how we rank this month versus last month, how we rank this month versus last year this month, how we rank this quarter versus last quarter. It's all measuring against to see where we're at, and I look for leaks that we may have and certain red flag to say, I got to pay attention to this part because this is concerning me a little bit. And then we'll start making the proper adjustments. That's what I mean when I say data.
Guys, so you're looking for improvement. You're looking for the pressure points of where you could grow. So you're not looking at who do I blame or you're not looking at, how fucked we are. We're looking at how do I improve my situation. So, that's your daily ritual is looking at, what are you, the gratitude session. That's probably where your mind is wired to look at improvement because you've been doing that subconsciously so often that you're looking at progress. You're not looking at what you did wrong. You're looking at how you could do it right. That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, it's data to see improvement.
Got it. Awesome. So, listen, you've done tons of content and you're putting out an amazing event. Tell us about what's the biggest thing you're working on right now? Because I know that you're putting an event, I believe, in July, correct?
Yeah, so I got a couple events coming up. One is I'm renting out MGM Grand Arena, which will be putting our annual convention together. That's one event that'll take place in September. But then I'm hosting the Vault Conference. I do this once a year. Last one was in Dallas. We have people show up from 43 different countries, and we go 3 days of pure strategy of what we do with the business. So it's not one of these things you go to where 20 speakers come up and they all sell their products. No one sells you anything. Not a single speaker is allowed to sell you anything because they get paid. So a lot of times you go to a convention, you buy a ticket, and what the host doesn't tell you is they're not. Yeah, it's a waste of time. It's an insult to the buyer. So for us, we don't. You're going to buy a ticket and you'll pay some money. I think tickets go from like $1,000 upwards to $10,000. But then we're going to spend 3 days together and we will grab this manual. Everybody gets this manual. This is trademark. This is our manual. And we will go through exactly filling out all of these things until you know exactly what your next 15 moves are, your own individual next 15 moves. And people that come there, their businesses range from, $250,000 top line revenue to $1 billion top line revenue from different places. And you'll get a chance to associate yourself with those guys. Two of the speakers I brought for this one, that's going to be in Miami, July 6th through the 9th. One speaker will be Andy Fastow. Every year I bring a weird speaker. Last year I brought Michael Francis, who was a former mobster. La Cosa Nostra, I brought him to give the power plays of what could happen. This year I'm bringing Andy Fastow, who was the former CFO of Enron. When Enron went out of business, he's the guy that was the CFO, and he went to prison for 8 years. So he's going to talk about what accounting mistakes not to make in today's times. And then I'm bringing Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, which will be talking about how to differentiate yourself against the marketplace. So one, people want to invest into your business, and two, you become competitive. So that's going to be the event from July 6th through July 9th.
Awesome. We're going to put all the links in here, but just give us the link just in case you're just listening to this.
Yeah, it's going to be valuetainmentconference.com. If you just look at the vaultconference.com.
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 Awesome. Yes. So we're going to put all the links here in the comments of the podcast, brother. So, thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in, and you just dropped amazing value into our listeners, and I respect what you do. And I'm looking at making sure that every single one of our listeners just takes notes on this podcast, and if possible, attend that Vault conference, man. I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you, brother. If you're a businessman and you're ready to lead, go to findmynextlevel.com so you can sign up for the Leadership Summit, an experience that's going to help you lead with power. Go to findmynextlevel.com. That's findmynextlevel.com.